everyone, it's John from What Up, and welcome back to another video, and happy Wheel of Time Wednesday. Like I said last week, every single Wednesday until Season 2 of the Wheel of Time drops, I'm going to do a news video, and we're going to cover all the interesting tidbits over the last week about the production. So if you like Wheel of Time show news, and just basic Wheel of Time content in general, make sure you click the subscribe button and the notification bell, because I put out a ton of Wheel of Time content here, and we are very close to 20,000 subscribers. We're incredibly close. When I started the channel, I didn't think more than 10 people would watch, but now we're creeping up on 20,000, so make sure you subscribe. I want to hit that milestone soon. That's absolutely amazing. Now, before we get into the news, spoiler warning, we are going to talk about certain elements of Season 1 and Season 2 of Sony and Amazon's Wheel of Time show. So if you haven't watched the first 8 episodes of the series, that's the full first season, I'm going to ruin minor plot points, minor character arcs, and maybe some names of places and whatnot during this video, but nothing too major, so it shouldn't really truly impact your viewing pleasure. All right, all of that being said, let's get on to the video. All right, so we're going to start off by talking about Brandopn Sanderson. Now, if you don't know who he is, he finished the Wheel of Time series. So after Robert Jordan passed, Brandopn Sanderson was chosen to finish off the series, and he did so with Robert Jordan's notes. So he is basically an author of the series as well. And he did consult the show a little bit. Now, he runs a podcast called Intentionally Blank, and he did talk about the Wheel of Time recently on it, and then winterscoming.net covered that podcast episode where he talked about the Wheel of Time and wrote an article. So I've left a link down below to Intentionally Blank and the Winter's Coming article, so if you want to listen to Brandon talk, or if you'd like to read the article, they're both there for you for reference, but we're going to talk just a bit about what was said and written in both of those things. Now, Brandon did consult on the show, 100%. He's mentioned it a couple of times that he has, but in this podcast, he did say that he consulted heavily in episodes 1 through 4, which I think personally kind of shows, because there were a lot of things there that I really enjoyed, and you can kind of see were veered a little bit more towards the books, and so Brandon was probably giving input on that. He said he consulted much less for episodes 5 and 6, and then not at all for 7 and 8. Now, 7 and 8 was kind of a special time, so for those of you who followed rumors and leaks and news over the last couple of years, you probably already know this, but for those of you who don't, essentially COVID shut them down, and it was a very difficult time. You had Barney Harris, who plays Matt Cawthon, left the production. You had gathering limits reduced. You had all kinds of new restrictions. You had people who couldn't make it into Prague to film. They had to rewrite the script. They had to rewrite scenes. They had to write people out. It was a mess. And during that time frame, Brandon didn't consult, and he actually reached out to Rafe, and I think those were Rafe's words. It was a mess. They're having a hard time with it. So he didn't get a whole lot of input in those episodes. But Brandon did go on to say there's a few things about the series that he would have done differently. Now, Brandon chose his words very carefully here, and winterscoming.net was very, very clear in this, and I'm going to be clear as well. Brandon has to be careful in what he says, because the fandom, the Wheel of Time fandom, is very passionate, either for or against the show and for and against the books. It's just the way it is. If you say you like a certain character, there are going to be 5 people who hate that character, and they're going to argue with you about it. Say you hate a character, there are going to be 5 people that like it, and they're going to argue with you about it. Except for myself. I love Gawain, and very few people love Gawain. Everyone likes to argue with me about that. So, passionate bunch we are, all of us. So when he says something, people can take it either as for or against the show, and they use it as basis for some of their arguments, and they say, see, we're right because Brandon said this, and he wrote the last few books. So he tries to choose his words carefully. He doesn't like talking about it a whole lot, but he has said some things. So some of the changes that he would have liked to have seen don't surprise me in the least bit. And in fact, they're changes that I would like to see, and a lot of the other fandom, I believe, agrees with him. And the first one is Perrin killing his wife in the first episode. I didn't like that at all. I knew about it long before the show ever aired, and I came to terms with it, and I thought they would pay it off maybe a little bit different or better. But it didn't really come to resolution, at least in the first season, as far as I saw. But Brandon said he didn't like that idea, and he didn't like the idea of Perrin spending the rest of the season essentially immersed in his own trauma, which he was. Now, credit to Marcus Rutherford, the actor who plays Perrin. He did a very, very good job of that. And this was supposed to be the whole basis for his, hate of violence, and, his love of the way of the leaf, and, the hammer and the axe, choosing and thinking of that, the internal struggle they had in the book series. Although Brandon didn't like the way it was initiated with his, with killing his wife. Now, he did say that props to the show and the writers for writing him properly, being immersed in trauma and not really being involved a whole lot the whole season, and at the very end being very inactive in the final scenes because he couldn't stand up to defend his friends and whatnot. But he would have liked to see that change. Now, we do know that he didn't consult much in episodes 7 and 8, like I already said. So there were a few changes there he would have liked to see. The first one was with land. He wanted to see more land. Now, he said he was a big proponent and he had a big push on for that scene in episode 1 where Lan was over top of Moraine protecting her while they were fighting the Trollocs, the scene where the camera pans above. And he loved that scene. And he wanted to see more things like that in episode 7 and 8. However, they chose to go a completely different route, and although he didn't like it as much, he kind of understood why. And the other one was Egwene and Nynaeve. He did not like the fact that they were paid off the way they were. So essentially, he said he would have changed it just a bit so they would have taken part in the battle, perhaps. But Nynaeve has her block and it doesn't have control over powers, and Egwene doesn't have any control over powers pretty much at all. And they couldn't really help out a lot. So they see all these people die around them, and then they realize they need to control their powers to be able to help people. So then maybe at that point they'll decide to go to the tower and become Aes Sedai. That's a change he would have liked to see. In the show, of course, they join the circle and they end up killing a bunch of Trollocs with Lady Amelisa. And there was that entire big scene that I won't recount word for word, of course. But he said he would have liked to see the other way rather than that. So either way. So yeah, really interesting read. If you get a chance, read that Winter's Coming article. If not, listen to the podcast. But really interesting tidbits by Brandopn Sanderson. He has been pretty vocal about the show. I mean, not in a bad way. He's been pretty supportive, pretty good. He says that Rafe and the showrunner and the production team have done a great job, a solid job for the first season. He hopes for more for season 2 and 3. So there we go. All right, now we're going to talk about a couple of other things. So there are a few surveys that have gone out recently to different people, and they give us some hints of what's going on. The first one gave sort of a synopsis of what season 2 is about. Now, take this one with a grain of salt. Now, I haven't been able to completely verify this is 100% true, but this was posted in the Dusty Wheel Discord. Geeky Area reported on it. It's been all over Twitter, pretty much everyone else. It was posted by Al Rosta. I haven't seen the originals myself, though, but enough people have, I guess, so we can talk about it. But it says, Season 1 tested our core characters and their relationships to each other along their journey to the Eye of the World. It was a coming-of-age story in the most dramatic of circumstances. Season 2 will focus on the next stage of life, finding a place for yourself within the world. Every one of our characters will find themselves isolated from others at some point in the season, and forced to reckon with the darkest sides of themselves. While Season 1 of the Wheel of Time traversed geographical locations, Season 2 will be more grounded in unique locations for longer stretches of time. Following after Rand hiding in the cosmopolitan city of Falme as he tries to fight off madness, unpacking Moraine's life before she became the woman we have grown to know, and watching Egwene and Nynaeve traverse being novices within the politics of the White Tower. Season 2 introduces viewers to the Shan-Chan, who appeared on the ships in the final scene of Season 1, a group of people who are descendants of Arthur Hawkwing, the last man who challenged the female supremacy of the Aes Sedai. These followers have been instructed by their fallen Hawkwing to claim their fatherland and burn the White Tower to the ground. The Shan-Chan tear through resistance as they encounter via leashed female channelers as weapons of war. Throughout the season, we will see all of our characters make the way to the first major city the Shan-Chan capture, leading up to what only could be a great battle. So this is sort of a synopsis of Season 2. Like I said, take it with a grain of salt, because we're not 100% sure, at least I'm not, that it's fully verified, but it sounds good. It reads the way I would expect a publication to put out a synopsis of Season 2 when they're talking about it. And I'd say this one, 70% sure that this is probably our very first synopsis of Season 2, and I do like it. I do like the way it reads. Next thing we're going to talk about is 100% verified. A bunch of people are getting these. So if you had signed up to be a part of Amazon Preview, which essentially you get to see things first, whether it's a bunch of people saw The Boys first, a bunch of people got to watch The Wheel of Time prior to it coming out. The first 3 or 4 episodes, they streamed it, all kinds of different things, and they give all kinds of surveys and stuff. People have been getting surveys about The Wheel of Time. So the survey that came out recently was, you have an exclusive chance to discuss what you loved and didn't love watching The Wheel of Time this season. So it asks a ton of questions about the season, things they liked, things they didn't like. One of the questions was, what do you think would happen if Wheel of Time does not return to Prime for Season 2? Which is kind of weird. It's a weird question. They're almost done filming Season 2. This is an actual screenshot of the question, by the way. And I thought that was really weird. We know Season 2 is almost done filming. They put the money into it. They're going to release it. Why would they ask this? Well, I have no idea. Second thing is they started saying, how do you like the interaction between characters? And they give a bunch of different pictures of characters, how the interactions made you feel. Was it good? Was it bad? Things like that on screen. Really cool survey. Quite a few people out there have gotten it. I, unfortunately, am not part of any of the surveys or previews or seeing things early or any of that stuff, although I really like to be. So Amazon, if you're watching, send me some things. But it gives us an idea that they are pushing for change for further seasons, and they're taking input from the fandom, which I really like seeing because a lot of people have been pretty vocal about some of the changes they'd like to see or things they'd like to see stay the same. All right, so now we have a video posted by Madeline Madden that was the talk of the town for about 2 days. So everyone on Twitter was talking about it, Facebook, Reddit. People are still talking about it because they haven't heard the fallout of it. So essentially, she posted a video celebrating her 25th birthday, and a lot of the cast were there. So we had Sierra Coveney, who's playing Elaine. We had Daniel Henney, who plays Lan. Hammett Animashon, who plays Loyal, was there. Donald Finn, who plays Matt. Yosha Stradowski, who plays Rand. They were all there. But there were 3 people in this video who most people didn't recognize. I recognized 1 out of the 3, but most people didn't recognize this, and there's a whole lot of speculation. Now, I get tagged a lot. I don't know how many times, but it was a lot on Twitter in this particular video because people thought that this gentleman right here was Gowan. There's like, oh, there's no way he can't be Gowan because if you look at him and you look at the lady who's playing Elaine, they do look like brother and sister. Like the casting would have been really good. However, WatchSeries.com did verify that this gentleman here, they're almost 99% sure, is Andra Hublik. And he is a crew member. He's been seen in other photos from season 1 when they're out filming and whatnot with the crew and the cast, out at dinner and outings in the evenings. So, debunked. I guess this isn't our Gowan. It's one of the crew members out having a good time with some of the cast. They're about the same age range, so of course they're going to hang out and do things together. And then they had this person here, and so there's a lot of people speculating that this person, who we didn't know, could be playing a cast member as well. And they ranged from all kinds of different things. Now, WatchSeries.com did some digging, and I talked to them a little bit about it, and I did some digging myself. And WatchSeries is almost sure. Now, I'm saying almost sure because they're not 100%, but this person could be Naomi Joy Todd, one of the dialect coaches for the show, but they're not 100%. Either way, they're pretty sure that this one is crew as well and not cast. And then you have the third person, which was this girl here, which is the very start of the video. This is Sybil. She's also one of the crew. She works for the production teams. So nobody in this video is new cast, unfortunately. Now, don't get me wrong. It was a good time to speculate about it. I love seeing when the cast, crew, and production team post things on Instagram, especially when there's new people involved, because of course we're all going to go digging and everyone will talk about it. It creates a lot of buzz about the show. I almost want to think they're doing it intentionally, but let's face it, they're probably not. It's her 25th birthday. She's going to post some stuff on Instagram. It's just the way it is. All right, so now we have Jennifer Chion Garcia, who plays Liana Sedai in the show, posted this image to Instagram. She tagged Julia Marco, who is the junior VFX production manager for the show, for the Wheel of Time show. And it's really neat. So for those of you who don't know what we're seeing here, we're basically seeing a body scanning. So they're scanning your whole body. All these scammers are basically taking images and video of her body to be able to scan and create a 3D rendition of her body, which is generally used for stunts or dangerous acts or different things on the screen. As soon as I saw this, I first thought of way back for Blade 2 when they fought for the lights. They did something similar then, of course, with much older technology. But this is really neat. Now, what this says to me, and again, this is pure speculation, is that Liana's probably involved in some sort of action scene in season 2 that's dangerous or involves a bunch of risk to a stunt double or the actress herself. So they do something like this to insert a digital person in it. Now, the only thing I can think of is certain events that happen in The Great Hunt. I didn't give a spoiler warning for the video, so I won't talk about it, but I do think we're going to see Liana in an action scene at the very least in Season 2, which makes me happy because she was pushed pretty heavily as the Keeper for Season 1, and we've seen her on screen for a total of 45 seconds maybe, at most. And there were quite a few people who were disappointed, expecting to see her a little bit more, and of course we didn't. So I am hoping that in Season 2 we do get to see her just a little bit more. All right, so the last thing I want to talk about today is this article from TV Fanatic where they interviewed David Moxness. Now, David Moxness was the cinematographer for the show, and there's all kinds of really neat technical type things in here, and I've left a link to it down below in the description box. I won't go through the article word for word. However, he does talk about some of the challenges of filming. They're in remote locations and forests, on cliff tops and things like that, how to get the equipment up there, how the lighting was a massive challenge for them, and that has been a complaint some people have had since then. How he didn't have any involvement in the editing or didn't get to meet Brandopn Sanderson or talk with them, although he had a lot of involvement with the directors and the showrunner and the producers. And it was pretty difficult sometimes to make sure that Rafe got exactly the shot he wanted, because they wanted to make sure that his particular tastes and views were on the screen properly, and he was very particular in how he wanted certain things done, whether they were exactly the same as the books or how he deviated from it, so they did multiple shots and multiple test runs for it. Really good read, all in all, if you like that behind-the-scenes technical stuff. I thought it was pretty cool, so I've left a link to this down below in the description box. Now, couple things to clean up before we go. First thing is I do have an interview with the season 2 extra coming out. I'd say probably in the next few days or so. So watch for that. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do so. You don't want to miss that interview. There's some pretty cool information in there about some of the episodes coming up. Nothing groundbreaking, nothing really like shocking, but it was really neat to be able to talk to someone who's on set currently filming in season 2 because they've been so tight-lipped and so close down about it. The other thing is too is if you work on the show, if you know someone who works in the show, if you work in and around it, I want to hear from you. I have an email in the about section of my channel. Click that, send me an email, tell me about your experiences, what you can and can't say, of course. And I'll feature it here in the channel because let's face it, we love everything, including leaks here. So if you have some tasty leaks for us, let us know, of course. All right, thank you so very much for sticking with us here to the very end. Here's to many more.